Hi everybody, Justin McElroy, editor-at-large for Polygon.com here. I'm joined by my brother and colleague, Griffin McElroy.
Hello.
Here to talk about more video games at the Triple E, as I have just started calling it 5 seconds ago. E3, we're joined by Brian Horton, who's game director, Crystal Dynamics, on Rise of the Tomb Raider. Hi, Brian.
I'm here in the interwebs with you guys.
Welcome.
You've ruined the illusion. We're trying to make it seem like you're just sitting across the room from us.
I know the compositing is really convincing.
Yeah, sure.
We're very handsome. You can't tell through the pixelation, but trust me on this one. I was doing a little research before. I'm a professional. And by my math, it's not exact, but Tomb Raider has been in the hands of Crystal Dynamics about as long now as it was in the hands of Core. About 10 years, give or take, both ways. Why do you think Tomb Raider, this franchise and this character, has had such longevity? And what do you do to sort of keep it fresh?
Well, obviously Lara Croft is one of the most iconic characters in video games, no matter what. And Core established that. Toby Gard and that crew of Core. I have huge respect. As a longtime Tomb Raider fan, playing the original on PlayStation 1, I can tell you it changed the way I looked at video games. So how do you keep that fresh? Well, we always work on character development, and our job for Rise of the Tomb Raider was to make her one of the most human and believable characters in games. And we started that with the reboot, and we're continuing with that in Rise.
The reboot, and especially Rise with some of its new systems like the day-night cycles and the additional sort of scavenging and crafting mechanics stuff, is kind of a big departure from the Tomb Raider that we knew on the PlayStation 1 era. How do you introduce those sorts of changes and mechanics and make sure that it still feels like Tomb Raider at the end of the day?
Well, what we look at, any addition we do, does it fit into our recipe? I mean, ultimately it's your classic traversal, combat, and puzzle solving, right? But when you talk about upgrades and scavenging and crafting, it works really well with the survival action recipe, I think. It feels natural to Tomb Raider. And we started that on the reboot, and we're taking that a little bit further in Rise, and let me tell you how. So in the last game, the deer was very much a narrative context, like survive in the wilderness, take the meat from the deer. Now we're actually using hunting as specific resources. So, for instance, the hide from the deer or wood that you would collect, cloth you find in the world, can all be crafted together to create new recipes that are going to make your weapons more powerful. You can make new ammo types. For instance, we can craft now poison arrow ammunition, which is able to take out multiple enemies, even armored enemies, with one shot. So these things feel really natural. And the other thing we're starting to do is introduce the idea that Lara doesn't always have to be in full assault mode combat. We had a little bit of stealth in the last game. Now we're giving her more traversal mechanics, like climbing trees and swimming underwater, to use in a way to evade or even take down enemies unseen.
There was a progression sort of in the first Tomb Raider. The Tomb Raider.
Whatever.
The reboot Tomb Raider that came out a little while ago. There was a really interesting progression because we got to see Lara go from a sort of somebody who'd never taken a life to somebody who was disintegrating dudes with a grenade launcher and like telling them that she was gonna do it. And by the way, if you're wondering if that scene still rules, I watched it a few hours ago and it still does in fact rule very hard. So that was like her journey in that game, was taking her from like that 0 to 60, I guess, in terms of that. Like, where in terms of that development as a character and becoming this character we know, where do we find her at the beginning of Rise of the Tomb Raider and sort of where is she headed?
So the last game was all about survival, her reacting to her situation, having to learn, being faced with these incredible odds, and then turning around to the other side. On this one, this is Lara's first great tomb raiding expedition. She's proactively going out and seeking these dark secrets, these lost civilizations in the furthest reaches of our world, the most hostile places on Earth. So that is a big turn in her character arc. She's proactively doing this. And I think she's realizing, we believe she's realizing, that this is part of her destiny. She's finding out who she's meant to be through the context of this game. And a lot of people don't believe her when she talked about the events from Yamatai. So this is a way she's going out there to try to prove herself that there's other mysteries like this in the world. She just has to find them.
So she's gonna like film herself killing dudes and then like, see, that was me, I did it, that was mine, that was my kill.
We totally hook her up with a shoulder cam and
just go showing every exploded dude.
She'll murder a guy and then find an idol that brings him back to life and then murder them a second time. It's an actual I wanted to ask about, during the reveal that we saw during the Microsoft press conference, we saw a really tense scene where she was running through some icy environment that was basically collapsing beneath her, and I thought that was sort of representative of some of the most iconic stuff that I remember from the Tomb Raider game, of the world just falling apart behind you and just barely escaping death. And one of the things that made me think about was in that Tomb Raider game, whenever you failed those segments, it showed a pretty horrific death scene for Lara. I'm curious to hear what the reaction was to that for you guys, if that's something that you're going to include in Rise of the Tomb Raider, because for me that was one of the most jarring things about Tomb Raider.
Well, we believe that drama has to have consequence. You can't set up stakes like that and not have something on the other end that shows the repercussions of failure. So in a way, even some of those most gruesome deaths, they were telling you, hey, don't do this, or some terrible
Bad
things are
job.
going to happen. As for Conan O'Brien, though, that obviously was very difficult for him. And as you saw his hair flopping back and forth if you've ever seen that segment, please do. Clueless Gamer, it's probably one of those classic segments ever from the last game. Google it now, it's hilarious. But
can we put that? Okay, go on.
Did you miss that?
We're watching it on our screen, so you just go ahead and we'll. No, just kidding.
All right. So anyway, these drama has to have a consequence, and those sequences are back. So for instance, we show the Siberian grizzly bear, and it's really dramatic in our behind the scene, behind closed doors demo. And of course, what's going to happen to Lara if she messes up against the bear? She's going to die a grisly death. I'm sorry, I had to go there.
Oh man,
woof.
Terrible, right?
that was really rough.
That was brutal. So we're. This is something I've noticed this year, and it's slowly but surely happening in the industry. Is we're starting to see more games with women protagonists. Laura's had I keep saying Laura. I know Lara, but I feel like I'm putting on airs if I say Lara. So the Tomb Raider, Lara Croft. She's had sort of I guess a rocky journey over the past 20 years, where she's both sort of been criticized for being sexualized, but then also held up as sort of a symbol of empowerment for women. And I'm curious, sort of throughout the development cycle through the various Tomb Raiders, sort of what lessons you've learned from that journey of her becoming a more fully realized character, and what sort of you'd pass on to other developers who might be in the same situation.
Ultimately, we don't want the gender component to be the most important aspect of what makes a great hero. We think Lara Croft is a great hero just because she's smart and agile and competent, and she's just a fun character to be. The fact that people are struggling with the idea of female protagonists is because there just aren't enough of them in games. But if you check out E3 this year, there's a huge, you've got Mirror's Edge, you have Sony's new property coming out, which I can't think of right now.
Recore.
Yes.
No, that's
Recore's
That's
That's Xbox, yeah.
But anyway, you're seeing a lot more female protagonists in games, and people aren't even going to be talking about it in 5-10 years, and that's great, because we just feel like even though Lara Croft has been on this pedestal and probably one of the greatest female protagonists, we just want her to be one of the greatest heroes in games, and that's the way we view Lara is not through a gender lens. It's more through how do we just make her have the coolest, most human story we possibly can.
So Rise of the Tomb Raider is scheduled to come out this November, which is sort of still November 10th, sort of still the big blockbuster month for new game releases coming out right before the holidays. And it was recently announced that Fallout 4 is also coming out on the same day. Are you guys worried at all about competition? Is there any chance Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to...
Get Alan waked?
Well, no, that's a terrible way to put it, but, is November 10th still the plan? Are you guys worried at all about the November competition?
You had to be a little bit angry at Todd, my boy Todd. I mean, I love Todd, but there had to be a little bit, oh, come on, Todd.
No, it's good. This is a great question. We're huge fans of Fallout, and we're huge fans of a lot of the games that are coming out in the November slot. And we believe gamers just want to have quality, right? If you're a fan of Fallout, you're probably going to be buying that. But there's a good chance you're going to be a fan of a Tomb Raider, and you might get both games. And the idea of healthy competition is all good in the industry. We're confident in that date. We're confident in the product we're putting out. So that date we're set on. We feel good about it. And no matter what, we're excited to be in the great company of Fallout 4. And there's a good chance that everyone else is going to be avoiding that date. Good chance.
Yeah, I would say after having Rise of the Tomb Raider and Fallout 4, this is a PSA. Hi, game developers. It's me, your pal, Griffin McElroy. Don't release any more games on November 10th. Just stop. We're just these two. That's it. Done there.
And hey, on the brighter side, if you play on PlayStation, you could get Fallout and then have a pretty good break in between to save up money to buy another game at some point in the future. Which leads me to my next question, Brian. This is,
I love you guys' segues. They're great.
yeah, they're very
really
smooth, right?
Yeah, super.
What has been the message? Obviously, a ton of people who play on PlayStation consoles loved Tomb Raider. I mean, I don't think there's any surprise there. What has been your all's sort of message to them, the people who are, you know, feel a little bit jilted that they're not going to be playing at the same time as people who are playing on Xbox?
You know, we have the greatest fans. You know, we listen to them. We hear their pain when they talk about this. Ultimately, Microsoft has been a tremendous partner with us. They believed in our vision from the get-go. If you look at E3 this year, they've just been tremendously supportive, and we believe together we're going to be able to put one of the greatest Tomb Raider games out, you know, on November 10th. To those fans, all I can ask for is to understand that we are as developers, we're just focused on trying to make the greatest Tomb Raider game we can, and that's really, you know, the best statement I can give at this point. And we hope some of you out there will if you don't have an Xbox One, we believe this is a great time to get one. There's so many great games coming out. If you saw the Microsoft conference, and we think it's a great time to jump in and get Rise and the Xbox One.
So November 10th, buy an Xbox One, buy Rise of the Tomb Raider, buy Fallout 4, and like sell your house. Like,
no, just save money right now.
Right, just start saving, get the layaway going
right now.
Right.
Get a second job.
Right. Brian,
but isn't it great that we have this many great games coming out? I mean, I think it's a fantastic time to be in the games industry and to be a fan of games. And
absolutely.
We're happy to come out this year and be a part of that.
We are super excited for Rise of the Tomb Raider. I hope there's a scene where she gets 2 grenade launchers and is just blowing away twice as many dudes. That would make my day. But I will have to wait till November 10th to find out. Brian Horton, creative director for Crystal Dynamics, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, can I give one more shout out?
Please.
Yeah, please.
All right, so I just want to say thank you guys at Crystal Dynamics, and a little bit of sneak peek. Eidos Montreal is partnering with us on this game, so I'm going to give a shout out to them for working so hard, putting the content that we see on the screen today. It's your hard work that's making the difference, and people are digging it. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you guys soon.
Speaking on their behalf, you're welcome, Brian. And thank you to those of you watching at home. We hope you're enjoying our video interviews this week. We've got a lot more in store for you, so stay tuned, Polygon.com, and you'll see a lot more of those. Until then, I am Justin McElroy. This is Griffin McElroy, and thanks for watching.